the biggies. Can yoga help with losing weight?
Okay, so almost 90% of people who inquire about the classes ask me this question. So it's, I think, one of the most frequently asked questions. And generally, people who want to join classes usually join with this objective. Right now, weight loss is this subject. Actually, I can talk for hours on this, but I'm going to try and keep it as crisp as possible. Now, weight loss is a very subjective thing, right? So to throw around words like weight loss, like as though it's like the latest fad. But first of all, you need to understand whether you need to lose weight. First of all, you need to understand that. And secondly, if you do need to lose weight, we need to identify the source of our weight gain. Right. So, what is the source? Is it due to eating, due to our eating habits? Is it due to stress? Is it due to hormonal imbalances? Is it due to hereditary issues? There are so many factors that contribute to weight gain. So if we understand the source of our weight gain, it will give us a little more perspective on our own answer. Now, with respect to yoga, when we're talking about weight gain, we're mostly talking about asana practice, physical practice of yoga. So asana practice is, I'm going to say, it definitely helps in the process of weight reduction, or I would rather choose words like fitness, toning the body, metabolism increasing or regulating your metabolism. It definitely aids in that process. But in order to lose weight, it has to be complemented with other changes, lifestyle changes. It has to be complemented with your diet, good diet habits. So I think that's the main thing. And also, if you're looking at weight loss, you should probably choose the style of yoga that you practice should be chosen according to that. So yeah, that's in short about yoga and weight loss. It's not, I'm not going to guarantee anyone that yoga is going to directly relate to weight loss. You have to complement it with other changes.
Okay. So here's another one. Most people ask, when they look at yoga, right, they see a lot of posters or videos, and they are really daunted by how we are twisted in all sorts of shapes and forms. So they all think, like, I'm not a flexible person. Will I be able to do yoga?
Okay. Again, this is one of the most common excuses that people give me for not doing classes or not coming for class. I'm not flexible. I can't do yoga. I think partly it is the social media, or the yoga community out there is probably to blame, because they put out all these really fancy postures, which is not very conceivable by normal people, right? So it is a little daunting for people, actually, probably, to even approach yoga. But this is one of the biggest misconceptions. You do not have to be flexible to do yoga. Yoga is not a competition. Okay, it is something to serve you. It serves you, right? So if you are not flexible, if you think you're not flexible, yoga will make you more flexible. If you think you're not strong enough, yoga will make you stronger, and so on, right? So no, you do not have to be flexible in order to do yoga. Not at all. Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned, right, about the type of yoga that we opt for. And that is another issue, right? When we start looking for yoga classes, there seems to be so many types, and one is not sure what to actually choose. So what are the different types of yoga, and what will be suitable for who?
Right. So that's a good question. And I think it's a very important question that everybody should ask. So like if you've heard of Sri T. Krishnamacharya, who's the father of modern yoga, he is the one who introduced yoga for individuals, right? So each person needs a different type of practice for them, depending on their goals, depending on their the stage that they are in their life, their age, their situation, their health conditions. All of that comes into play when you want to choose a suitable practice for you. So there is no one size that fits everyone in this case. So definitely, when you're looking at joining a yoga class, first of all, understand what your goals are. So if you are probably youngish, young, mid-age, whatever, if you have reasonably high energy levels, if you are reasonably healthy, and if you're looking for a challenging practice, something that probably will challenge you physically, you can probably look at something like a little more aggressive, a little more rigorous practice, like probably an Ashtanga Vinyasa class, a Vinyasa flow, Bikram yoga, or many studios now offer power yoga and things like that, which you can try. If you're somebody who's looking for overall well-being through yoga, you're also looking at understanding in general. I mean, if you're looking at all the benefits in general of yoga, you can probably look at Hatha yoga and its various forms. Shivananda yoga. There's also the style of yoga that I practice called Vinyasa Krama. These are all really great for people who are looking at overall well-being through yoga. If you're looking for something relaxing, restorative, something to calm you down. Also, if you're looking at something to complement a more rigorous physical activity that you have, maybe you go to the gym, or maybe you play a sport or something like that, and you're looking at something to kind of complement that, go in for a restorative practice, yin yoga, those kind of practices really help. If you're looking at understanding proper alignment in different asanas, you can go in for Iyengar yoga. If you're looking at I don't know, yoga. If you have a medical condition and you're looking for a therapy for that, you can go in for yoga therapy. So there are so many different kinds of yoga, styles which are offered, and depending on your goals and what you want to achieve through your practice, choose one accordingly.
So let's say I finally managed to choose a style and a class and everything. So what is the best time to practice yoga?
See, honestly, I know a lot of people believe that morning is the best time to practice yoga, and rightfully so, because morning is the time when you will need the practice in the morning will help you sustain that energy throughout the day. It's also the Brahma Muhurtam, which we say, right, between 4 to 6 a.m. in the morning is also the time of highest prana. So it is great to do your pranayama meditation, and of course Surya Namaskar, which is like the foundation of an asana practice, is, as the name suggests, sun salutation, right? So best done with the rising of the sun. But that being said, there is no such thing like this is the only time that you should practice yoga. Yoga can be practiced anytime during the day. The only thing to keep in mind is to not have a heavy meal at least 2 hours prior to your practice.
So how often should I practice it?
Ideally, yoga should be practiced every day, but we don't live in ideal situations. We have our own priorities in life. So if you are a yoga practitioner, at least try to put in around 3 to 4 days of practice in a week. That should probably be good.
Okay, so men tend to wonder this, right? As I said earlier, we see all the posters and videos again, and you see significantly more women in a typical yoga class than men. So does this mean yoga is not suitable for men?
Absolutely untrue. Not at all. In fact, all the founding fathers of yoga have been, fathers. So they've all been men, right? So yoga was actually designed for men. And in fact, before the time of Krishnamacharya, women were not even allowed to practice yoga. Okay, it was only Krishnamacharya who actually propagated the benefits of yoga practice for women as well. So absolutely untrue. Yoga benefits both men and women equally. Probably the reason why men these days prefer, or stay away from yoga classes is probably because there are other options of more aggressive practices, physical practices, which kind of appeal to them more, and maybe they think that yoga is a more passive form of practice. And again, I think also social media is to blame again, because of all these really graceful looking women, wearing all these fancy clothes, doing yoga. So it kind of comes across as a very feminine practice, whereas in fact it is not. It is something that is suitable for everybody, irrespective of their gender.
Interesting. So, and how about elderly? Is it advisable to practice yoga when you are like a bit advanced in age?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yoga has been practiced by elderly people for so many years, and it has great benefits. Of course, it needs to practice under the guidance of a trained teacher, who is able to suggest what is good for that particular person, depending on their medical conditions and stuff like that. But yes, yoga is one of the safest forms of physical, or rather asana practice, I should say, is one of the safest forms of physical practice for elderly. It's done in a manner which is prescribed by a trained professional. So it has a lot of benefits for the elderly.
And how about children? Is it beneficial or prove detrimental, especially during the growing years?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, yoga is anything but detrimental to growing children. Yoga is the practice of yoga actually helps increase your your brain power, your memory, your focus and concentration. It helps manage your energy levels. It infuses a sense of discipline. Right? It helps bring balance. It helps bring body awareness, self-resilience, so many things, and all of these are so crucial for growing children, and that's what they need, right? So definitely yoga practice is really, really beneficial for growing children. And the best thing about it is that it can also be made fun and challenging if taught in a good way by a trained person. Can be made fun and challenging for children, so that it appeals to them as well. It's not something that is just sitting in, closing your eyes and doing it behind closed doors.
And women generally tend to have these two questions. One, is it okay to practice yoga while menstruating? And the other one, should I practice yoga during pregnancy?
Okay, so the first question, when you're menstruating, see, there are a lot of theories surrounding this. Some traditions absolutely forbid you from practicing when you're menstruating, and other traditions are okay with it. So I would say, personally, my opinion is that it is absolutely personal choice, because everybody's menstrual cycles differ. So some people have faced a lot of discomfort during their menstrual cycles, and others don't really feel anything much. They don't face many issues. So it's absolutely up to you. If you're comfortable, practice. If you're not comfortable, take those 3 days of rest and get back to it. Personally, for me, I really love practicing, a calming, restorative sort of practice during the first at least 2 days of my menstrual cycle, because it really helps alleviate, any cramps. It helps lighten the mood, because you're really groggy and grumpy a lot of times when you're in that time of the month. So it really helps with these kind of issues. So I would really recommend a very calming, grounding practice. But again, some people have very uncomfortable menstrual cycles, so better to avoid it if that's the case.
And
oh yeah, you asked me the second question. Yeah, during pregnancy, absolutely, yoga is such a great tool for pregnant women, and it has so many benefits for your own health and for the fetal health. And there are a lot of benefits if you practice yoga during pregnancy, of course. But that being said, you should only practice it under the guidance of a trained instructor, who is able to guide you according to your trimester, according to your medical condition. The general rule when you're pregnant is not to try anything new or something which your body is not comfortable with. So if you've never done yoga before, go really slow and do only things that your body is comfortable with and that you're not too intimidated by. Don't try anything weird which might put you in a risk of injury. But that being said, there are many, many, many benefits of practicing yoga during your pregnancy. So if you'd like me to tell you the benefits, I can.
Yes,
There are many. I mean, this is something that I feel very personally about because I practiced yoga throughout my pregnancy. From day one, almost until I went into my labor room, I was like on the exercise ball. So it had so many benefits for me first. So through experience, I can say that it is really, really great. There are too many benefits to actually put into one question like this, but to broadly put, it's one of the safest ways to keep yourself physically strong and flexible throughout your pregnancy. It helps manage stress, right? And any hormonal fluctuations, which are very common during your pregnancy. It prepares the body for a normal birth, a normal delivery better. It helps position the baby better, with the head down. It helps prevent breech baby cases. It helps even postpartum recovery. It induces endorphins and kind of reduces cortisol levels in the body, which is a stress hormone. And what else? There are so many. I mean, it helps manage other symptoms of your pregnancy, like breathlessness, acidity. Many people have heartburn, acid reflux. Your control of your sphincter muscles, the urethral sphincter muscles is much better, and so on. I can go on talking about it, but broadly speaking, these are some of the benefits that you'll get through yoga during pregnancy.
Okay. So there is another aspect of yoga. It's great for stress relief, right? But what about other aspects of mental health? Say, how does it help in the case of be it anxiety or depression?
Okay, so see, in terms of mental health, each type of mental disorder is different, and although they all sound kind of similar to a person who is not very well versed with all this, but each of them have to be dealt with differently. In terms of anxiety, a lot of people who have anxiety come to class, and what is important? Yes, I would say yoga definitely helps with things like anxiety and depression. But what we need to understand is how it really helps. Okay, it's not enough to just say, okay, yoga helps, but keep doing yoga and your anxiety will go. No, how does it really help? Now, what anxiety stems from a busy mind, right? And it stems from restless thoughts around all these thoughts and restless emotions around all these thoughts in our head. But the mind's job is to think, so you can't stop it from thinking. But what you can do in order to combat or manage anxiety better is to try and give the mind something else to think about. So something more focused, something more positive and more uplifting than the busyness in your head and all the thoughts. So yoga practice does that beautifully because it really helps you, whatever time that you are practicing, whether it's half an hour, 1 hour, whatever it is, that time you're only focusing on things like your breath, your drishti, maybe a mantra, you're practicing mantra meditation, whatever it is. So your mind is forced to focus on something other than the thoughts in your head. And when it becomes a sustained practice, done frequently and consistently, it becomes more of a habit. So the mind starts to respond to stillness and respond to a more focused attention onto something more uplifting. So yes, this way definitely helps combat or manage symptoms of stress and anxiety better. Sorry.
Now that we have discussed so many areas that yoga is beneficial, right? Is there any scenario where yoga is not recommended?
No, not really. I mean, I can't really think of any scenario where yoga might not be, except of course, if you've had a surgery, if you've had any major surgery and if you had a fracture or something like that, of course, then you need to allow time for your condition to heal. It's not recommended for people who've just delivered. So if you've delivered, if you just had a delivery, whether it's normal or a C-section, you need to wait at least for a month or two to start a yoga practice. Apart from that, there are some, so the Ministry of Ayush actually says that you should not practice yoga in a state of exhaustion or in a state of illness, or it should not be practiced in a hurry, or it should not be practiced under acute stress conditions. So yes, these are all guidelines that you can follow, but otherwise, in a usually normal state, anybody can practice yoga under the guidance of a proper teacher, of course.
Okay, we have reached our last question, and before I let you go, how would you tell us, as a yoga teacher, if there is one yoga pose you would want your students to practice every day, what would it be and why is that?
Oh God, there are so many. So I I say this about some pose in every class, and it's all different. But yeah, my personal favorite would probably be shoulder stand, Sarvangasana. There are also, because there are other modifications that you can take for that posture if you can't really do it, do the full pose. There are so many other modifications that you can take, so it's suitable for people of any level, whether or not you're an advanced practitioner or a beginner, whatever it is. Just having the legs up the wall or going up to a shoulder stand. I think in between any of these postures is really, really great, because it helps trigger or rather activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps calm you down. And it has many other benefits, so many other benefits, and it's called the Queen of Asanas for a reason. So yes, shoulder stand, Sarvangasana, or any of its other modifications is great. It's something that I think everyone should do every day.
Okay. Thank you so much for your insightful answers. That's it for today. Until next time.